It's another Human First AI marketing podcast. I'm your host, Mike Montague at Avenue 9. We are at avenue9.com, and we're doing all kinds of fun things, trying to use AI to help small and medium-sized businesses market better. We'll keep it simple this time. My guest this week is Grant Fuellenbach, who is helping home builders and contractors and anybody really that's working with bids, because he's the host of the Beyond the Bid podcast. He is also at gofirstconsulting.com. Grant, I've been on your podcast. You're coming on mine now, talking about best practices back and forth. And you do a little bit more in predictable systems and like integrations, and I would say more whole process stuff than I do. I kind of try to focus on the big picture. So can you tell us kind of where you're at and what you're doing with AI and marketing these days?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, you nailed it. I would say like what we focus on is less big picture and more like implementation. So we work with a lot of home builders, remodelers, contractors, and help them actually, get their hands on different AI platforms. But then, everyone's probably signed up for like a ChatGPT or a Gemini or something like that. But we're actually, hitting the ground floor with helping them install a system for it, rather than just having everyone on their team kind of have a shotgun approach towards AI, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's lesson number one already, is that a lot of people, especially when they're new tools, just kind of slap AI on things, or when they remember to use it, they'll jump over there, but they don't really have a system or a process to get that done. In the contractor world, where do you think AI makes the biggest impact?
I would say the number one thing is, so I guess it all depends, right? Because there's like, in my opinion, there's three different, there's more, but I like to just segment contractors into three buckets. You've got like owner operators. So guys who, if your AC runs out, or your not runs out, if your HVAC breaks, it's somebody who you call and it's their own company. They come out to your house, they, give you a bid, or they fix the project on site. So very small, maybe they're their only employee. And then there's like kind of a SMB, or a small team, which is maybe it's, it started with one guy, but now he has a team of 5 and a bookkeeper, may or may not be his wife.
Right. I heard a great term you can steal. It's called the 2 pizza team. If you're getting the company together, you can still feed everybody with 2 pizzas.
I love that. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it. And then there's a larger team, right? Maybe they've franchised it out, or they have a need for more than 2 pizzas. We'll say that.
Yeah.
And so long story long, each one of those segmented buckets really has its own needs when it comes to AI, right? It's not like a one size fits all by any means. And so but I would say the one overlying, I guess, true need for AI across all 3 buckets would be enhancing the client experience. Because I heard this quote or topic the other day that really resonated. It's, when you're a kid, you're not supposed to talk to strangers, and you're not supposed to talk about money. And when it comes to residential construction, that's exactly what you're doing. You're inviting strangers into your house to talk about money. Yeah. And so it's kind of it can be a really awkward experience. It can definitely be an uncomfortable experience for a lot of homeowners, or just, clients of builders who aren't used to that type of interaction. And I think AI can really play a role in kind of alleviating that awkwardness or that uncomfortability.
Yeah, I think so. And you're speaking my language. I've definitely used that line before in sales training that we do, because sales and prospecting is tough. But one of the cool things you can do with AI is custom sales presentations these days, that if you just record your calls or you take notes in the CRM or you know what you're pitching and you can take a picture of their house and then put the solar panels on the roof and show them what it would look like with AI. I was actually helping my parents this weekend. I was back home and my mom wanted to see what their house would look like with custom installed Christmas lights for the season. They're thinking about getting them professionally installed. And I was like, yeah, sure, that's easy. Stamp a picture of the front of their house, upload it to ChatGPT, say, put some white professionally installed Christmas lights on it and show me what it would look like at dusk. Boom. 2 minutes later, I got the picture and it's great. And they go, oh, you want to change those to alternate red and white and make another, image. And now all of a sudden, without any Photoshop skills or anything, we have these, custom presentations and demos for people that we've never been able to do before.
In real time too, which is crazy. You can make like real time iterations on it.
You can do that while you're at their house for sure.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's fun to even watch the magic happen with them, because it loads up like an image from the 1980s on dial-up. You get it slowly. Hang on, we're going to see what your house looks like in a second with the new patterns. That's awesome. Well, you mentioned the different buckets. I'd love to have you go deeper a little bit because I still think if I was going to place a bet, most people think AI, they think generative AI, I could have it write an email for me. But I'm guessing that you're using it in a lot of different ways for these different groups.
Yeah, I like my favorite one, probably the one that I work on most frequently is like knowledge transfer. So, historically, like SOPs are always a big deal in every company, or at least they should be. And historically, it's kind of a mundane or a little bit of an archaic system when it comes to, some greenhorn or somebody new who's hired on. It's like, okay, to learn how to do your job, just go and shadow that guy for a week. And then now you're an expert. And hopefully you've retained some amount of the info from that one guy over there who may or may not be the best, person to teach you. And who may or may not even know that they're supposed to teach you. And so a lot of what I kind of incorporate in is using tools like Notebook LM or just different RAG models to really harness and organize that knowledge and then present it in a way to the new team member, to existing team members, to help them kind of get up to, not even up to speed, but just learn as much as they need to before they, take on risk in a new project.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there. And that's some of the work that I do at Avenue 9. If people can't articulate those, I love interviewing people and finding out that story. And so I've been in those situations. If you still got that old guy on your team that tries to write contracts on the back of his cigarette packets and, he's not up for training the new people, or certainly not for writing down documentation of how somebody else can do his job, let me interview him on the record on Zoom, for a while and ask him questions about the job. How do you do it? And where do you start? And what would you recommend? And what are the common mistakes? And once you have all those FAQs together, AI can write it for them. But I've just found especially, and it's not fair, it's all different personality styles, but especially people that are not tech savvy or are of older generations, if they're not in that coaching mindset and they're not the owner, it's really hard to get them to even articulate what these things are. And honestly, for most small businesses, it's hard to articulate what you do yourself because you just have been doing it the whole time. You haven't been thinking about how to teach or articulate it in a sales or marketing message.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're so close to that project or that problem or whatever it is that you're working on. It's, sometimes it takes like a third party to say, it's from what I'm seeing, it's actually this. This is what you do.
Yeah, I love that. Now, when you think about for the larger teams, the automations, when you start dealing with large numbers of projects and project management, I'm sure there's a lot of other tools that pop in here that, again, I think people miss because they just think generative AI and they don't think about things that we've been doing in marketing automation for a long time, or project management systems and CRM systems and ways to link those together, billing and hour tracking, which can make a huge difference in your business. I know for me personally, I'm almost never deal with accounts receivable and things like that. Now I'm in a different business than most contractors, which means they even need to have a bigger handle on some of these things because they're dealing with all sorts of inventory processes, things, shipping, things like that. What's maybe a good example of how people are using automation these days?
Yeah, I think you nailed it. Like it's a hard business because it's not just material and service. It's in design build or remodeling, you're managing like components of every other small business out there, like labor and hiring, material shortages, you have, and then client communication. So, and marketing, right? It's difficult because you're managing so many moving pieces that unless you have a system in place, you're literally juggling, and the balls are also like, coming apart sometimes in the air.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. So how do we fix that problem?
Yeah. So really, it's, I think you said it, there's tools out there that really do help, especially when it comes to project management, being able to streamline, your on-site client experience and create estimates in real time, being able to do, quick measurements, and then turn those into an estimate. I mean, even I was playing around with Build Exact over the weekend. My brother, he's contemplating or finishing his basement. He has 2 young kids, so he's like, "Oh, I don't know if I should finish this or wait till they're older, or what we should do here." And so I was like, "Oh, I'll just give you like a quick estimate so you can at least see what these contractors are going to ballpark you." And so I just did a little 3D render of his basement with my phone, then turned that into literally plugged it into, I think it's called Blue or something on Build Exact. Said, "Here's the dimensions, here's what we want to do." And then it literally just, compiled a really extensive scope for that project with materials, with, like even 20% markup on labor hours. But I think I did that in maybe 35 minutes.
Yeah.
And, that's the easy part, right? Is like putting it together. The hard part is like, now you have to spend $65,000 on your
Well, the hard part for that, but I think is the builders, my lesson in that is that like you want to spend your time doing the hard part of actually doing the remodel, and that's usually the fun part too. You get to see something, build something from nothing, and have a deck or a roof or a remodel or a new kitchen to show for it at the end, and some nice pictures you can take going forward. But the part you don't like is all the paperwork. I don't know anybody that got into construction so that they could do more accounting and paperwork and bids and sales calls, right? So I think as much of this as you can do to automate your workflow and win more projects and scale these projects without disaster and get the pricing right, the longer you can stay in business and the more fun you get to do of the part you actually like.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And, oftentimes it takes knowing the right language, like how to speak in terms that, your customer won't have total shell shock when they see the price from your estimate, or, being able to actually get to the root underlying issue or the real underlying opportunity that they're looking to solve with finishing the basement or with building a custom house.
Yeah, it's a lot. Are there any other buckets of AI? I don't know. There's probably some groups of builders, maybe roofers, that are doing like storm tracking stuff or targeted marketing and advertising and predictive analytics and and other, advanced things for those larger companies? Are there any, cool strategies that you think we should be aware of?
Yeah, I mean, there's I could probably go on and on and on and on about this, but
do it.
there's like, talking about predictive analytics, like if you really want to nerd out on it, you can really design your house to be totally IoT compliant, and you can actually showcase pretty much when certain parts of that house are more than likely going to fail. So talking about like HVAC, your furnace, or anything that generally has a estimated lifetime to it, you can build that in, and then ultimately have really predictive revenue streams by just managing those projects over time.
Yeah.
Well, that might involve subcontractors and a whole, suite of offers that might fall outside of your primary as a design builder, but there's so many moving parts to a home and how people live in that home. Another really big topic that I think is huge is aging in place. And just because in the US, retirement home costs are insane. And generally, people want to experience their end of life in a better environment and one that they're comfortable in, and i.e. their own home. And so making their home kind of adjust or fit their needs rather than the other way around is a huge just topic, I guess.
Yeah, I think you could easily make the case that if a retirement home is $5,000 a month, if you get somebody to age in place for just 2 years, you could spend up to $120,000 on a remodel and still save money. Because you just made the doors wider for a wheelchair, or you added the ramp in front, or other roll-in showers and things like that. Like you could make a pretty cool upgrade for $120,000, and if it lasts 2 to 5 years, you've actually spent less money than the ongoing cost. Now, there's all kinds of other financing and people trying to sell that would do a better job than I would off the cuff here. But I think that's a great example, and I love what you said about the predictive analytics of when things will fail. I'm seeing an IT company that I work with doing that, of aging machines and using AI and other things to keep track of that and automate the process for replacement and knowing when to reach out. And it's basic marketing 101 here. If you know they're going to have a problem, then you can start marketing to that problem. And eventually, when that HVAC does blow up, you're the person that calls because you were there, the month before saying it would, or afterwards. And I think it makes a big difference, and it makes it so much easier now to keep track of those things than the way it was 5-10 years ago in the systems and CRM systems that we had to manually enter these expiration dates by hand and then try to keep track of them and stuff. So there's really cool things you can do and measure these days.
And that's that's in regards of like predictability. That's the easy part, knowing someone's going to have a problem. But being able to, no one necessarily remodels their house because something just isn't working, like an HVAC unit. But they might remodel their house, just using my brother as an example, because he has 2 young kids and they want to be able to, improve the line of sight from the kitchen to the living room where the kids' play area is, right? For safety or whatever. And so knowing that's kind of like an underlying opportunity helps really understand, okay, we know the layout of this house. We know that this couple is going to want more than likely to go through these changes with their current dynamic or their current layout. How do we build trust with them over time and become kind of like that expert guide, if you will, to set, to give them that checklist, or to give them some type of roadmap of, hey, as your family expands, these are some of the best practices we found.
Yeah, I love that. And I will add 2 strategies onto that. If you've made it this far into the podcast, you're nerding out on this. So 2 things I would add. One is if you can get the measurements and stuff, great. If you can't, there are things that you can do in marketing now to measure like search traffic and things. So, with some ABM tools or other Google Analytics or Facebook, you can see when somebody starts posting about HVAC stuff, or their searches start including HVAC replacement or line of sight or children's stuff. So when you find those like topics coming and they're like, I don't know, let's make up one like there's a pool in the backyard or something, and if somebody starts doing a search around what ages are safe for children to be left unattended in the pool, you can say, oh, let's target a solution here, and we can get really specific and granular in a way that we can do this, and we're all tracked 24/7. So I know some people are hearing this and thinking it's creepy too, but it really, you want solutions, right? And so we all have this information. We know we're being tracked. We're not the one tracking them. We're just taking advantage of the information they're publicly sharing already. I say go for it. And then the third strategy, even wider, is now with AI and AEO and generative engine optimization, is we need to start being the answers that are giving those recommendations that you mentioned when they go and ask ChatGPT, how do I improve my house for child proofing or child safety, that our blogs and our content comes up and they recommend you go talk to ABC Consulting because they're an expert in this, and you can really start branding your company and your name around these problems solve. So all of that is super cool. I want to ask you where you think it's going. What do you think the world of contractor marketing will look like in 5 years?
My opinion on this hasn't really changed, even with like AI becoming what it is now. And I still think convenience is the number one currency in the world. That's everything moves at the speed of that. And I think information will just become more convenient. Like you said, with the AI overviews, with ChatGPT and different LLMs functioning as search now, I think it'll just get smarter and smarter and more personalized, right? To the point where if it might in the future know that, hey, I'm looking to, it might already know that I need to finish my basement and I just got a, significant bonus from work. And now I can, do I go on vacation or do I use it to finish my basement or, whatever.
Mine already does, to be honest with you. My AI, I'm on ChatGPT Pro. It has quite a long memory now, and it knows some of my goals, longer term projects that I'm working on. It knows what city I live in, so it knows temperature changes and can recommend things to do in the fall or whatever it happens to be. And you could, say the same thing. If I asked it, what's the best way to invest a big bonus I just got, it could list 3 to 5 things it already knows about me and suggest new ones that it thinks I would like based on my interests. Like, there's really cool stuff going on.
Yeah, I think like another way of phrasing that, I think it could be, like if you go to Mexico for a vacation, you can go to a resort and you have a concierge pick different excursions or adventures that they think will resonate with you. And they're going to do their best to, get to know you and your history and all that stuff. The other side of that coin is kind of like a choose your own adventure, right? Where you're the one who's like putting in a little bit more work to decipher, okay, I really want to do this and I want to do this, but I'm going to push off those 2 other things. And I think AI is going to like take that same concept, but elevate it a little bit more, where that concierge is now like helping you, instead of just pick fun things to do in Mexico, it's actually brainstorming projects and like both personal and professional. And it's like maybe we even incorporate more robotics into the home and into our lives, and so it kind of becomes a more personified version. Instead of you just talking to your phone trying to brainstorm and troubleshoot, it's now something that's doing your laundry while it's saying, hey, remember we have the pool installer coming next Tuesday, so your appointment with it might go a little longer.
Yeah, that's crazy. So if you had to go within our lifetimes, if you had to go like 30, 40 years out, what do you think humanity looks like? Are we still building homes? Are robots doing it because they're colonizing Mars? What do you think the world looks like? What sci-fi movie do you think we end up in?
It's a good question. I'll try and be positive. Maybe like I want to say like Millennial Man, or that one with Robin Williams.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't seen that one in a long time.
Yeah, I haven't either, but I kind of remember being a positive one where he's like part of the family, and
Okay. Yeah.
at least the last time I saw it, I don't remember anything bad really happening, except for I think
AI version of Work from
humor.
Work. Yeah, from Work from Home.
But yeah, I think it'll probably go in that direction. I think it will slowly transform from probably your phone to more of like Spot, that Boston Dynamics dog-looking crane thing, and then it might become more human-centered, but maybe not.
I'm guessing all of the above. A lot of people that try to pick this or that forget that both is an option. So you'll probably have like the Boston dog things to run packages around, or the little Roomba robots, delivering for Amazon. You'll have some drones for things. You'll have humanoid robots to take out the laundry or do it, or the laundry takes out itself or whatever. And so they can all look like, I think, more like Star Wars in that regard of like,
totally. The C-3POs and R2-D2s and
a customer service, droid would look more humanoid and have recognizable, features and stuff. So yeah, that's probably a good bet there. Will be fascinating to see kind of, for me, which industries get disrupted first and last. I think there are some hazardous jobs in construction that we want robots to do. And obviously there's big, heavy things that we want them to lift and help with. And we've already been on that path for a long time. But I also think there are some things that like will just be the last to go. Like I grew up in the Midwest, and I know a kid who's like 24 years old started a barbed wire fence repair business because nobody was doing it anymore in Indiana, and he's killing it. He's making a ton of money. Nobody's getting into it. I'm guaranteeing nobody's building a robot for this because it's not a big enough problem. And like, he might just be the last one of us with the job because it's something that's like, it's difficult. It's hard work. It's a niche thing. And like, God bless you. You can charge whatever you want for it because nobody wants to do it. And so there's going to be pockets of those all over. It'll be fun to see how it shakes out.
Oh, totally. Yeah. It's something so niche. I think you're right. I think it will be the last, or one of the last few things to really be disrupted. And then on the other end, I saw a few weeks ago this robot that literally replaces roofs. It installs shingles. And, it's like, is that worth it? Is that really justified? I get that, it's probably
a lot of roofs out there.
Yeah, absolutely. But at the same time, it's like, and I get it's probably such an early stage company that it's probably vested by some university, and this is just a study, but it's like, I don't know. Is it actually more efficient overall than just the status quo of, having a bunch of subcontractors on your roof and getting it done in an 8-hour window or whatever?
I think that's the question we're all going to have to ask in every industry and every job that we have. And I can see situational things happening where, like, if you're doing manufactured homes or like a whole subdivision and they're all new construction and they all look the same and the robot can crank it out, great. Yeah. If it's a 250-year-old house where I live now on the East Coast in the Boston area, and it's wonky and it's unlevel and they're going to have terrible winters. Like, maybe I don't trust a robot just to automate this process. I want to have somebody get up there and make sure it's sealed before there's a foot of snow on it. So,
and that's also hard too. Like, housing is such an issue in the United States in terms of just, the competitive landscape of real estate. And like the house that I live in and most of the houses in this area of northern Colorado were developed in like the 70s, and they're all tract homes.
Yeah.
They were essentially the 1970s version of a 3D printed house.
Yeah, I was just going to say that too. Like we have 3D printed houses. I love the Boxable. Is that the company that has those homes?
Yeah.
Like, they're looking cool. They're only going to get better. And so if you can, have something driven by AI across the country on the back of a flatbed and then rolled off by some robots and popped up, like, why wouldn't we do that? It doesn't mean people aren't still going to want custom built log homes in the, hills of Denver, Colorado or something. But yeah, it's going to be fascinating to see how it shakes out. We've been talking with Grant Fuellenbach from Go First Consulting. It has predictable systems for builders and contractors at gofirstconsulting.com. He also has a killer beard and a podcast called Beyond the Bid. So you made it to the end of this podcast. Go check out that one anywhere you're watching or listening to this. Grant, anything else you'd add there? How can we help you or you help us?
Yeah, just keep the conversation alive, right? I think it's super important that everybody stays engaged and informed about this because it's literally sweeping everything that we do, right?
Yeah, insane. Well, thanks for the advice and the consulting here today, a little free consulting. If you go to avenue9.com, I have lots of resources there as well. There's some AI readiness quizzes. I'll interview, your founder, your top salesperson, your best client, a partner or vendor, and collect the contextual information you need in order to have AI write killer stuff for you. Really great things that are customized to you and your message and your audience. And it's been a really fun project getting to learn over the last year. And now we're applying that in AEO. If you want to get ranked for some of these questions that people are typing into AI, now is the time. Go to avenue9.com. Until next time, have fun, keep going, and we'll see you next week.